This is Histories and Mysteries. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jessica. And on this week's episode, Ashley is going to be talking about John List.
Yes.
And I am going to be telling you all about the Hinterkaifeck murders. And
Oh.
I hope I'm saying that correctly, but it is German.
I would say, is it German? It sounds
Yeah.
German.
And I researched it like a month ago. So who knows?
Well, we're both doing murders then, so that's cool.
Mine's unsolved.
Ooh, mine is not.
I know. I never do unsolved ones because they just
I
piss me
hate
off.
unsolved stuff, but I had like, remember when I had like a stream of them? I did like
Oh,
17 unsolved in a row.
yeah, it was awful. I
It was
hated
horrible.
you.
I hated myself.
Also, anybody on YouTube, we have, oh, she's attacking the cord.
We have a visitor.
I have a visitor on my laptop.
She's so cute.
It's Freya.
It's probably really warm. That's probably why she likes it so much.
No, it's actually not.
Oh.
Yeah, no, she just I don't know what it is with cats and like laptops.
Have you seen that TikTok where it's like really old, but they're like, if you get your cat like a mini laptop, it'll leave yours alone. And then they had like this cat with a mini laptop and it was like poking at it. And she's like, look at this little businessman. It's really
Aww.
cute.
I have my sweet girl right here and I love her. Our cats are we gave our dog up.
Yeah.
We gave him to one of our friends who's super outdoorsy, doesn't have kids, has other dogs, and he
Mhm.
is so freaking happy.
Oh,
It's
good.
amazing.
Good.
Um, Super tough decision, but
Yeah.
like amazing. I'm so happy for him. And we
Yeah.
get to go see him in a couple of weeks, and I'm so
Oh,
excited.
that's so nice.
But our cats are so happy.
I bet. I'm sure
They're
my cats
sleeping.
would like it if my dogs were gone.
They're sleeping in bed with us now. And like our one cat races to get upstairs before our other cat gets upstairs so that she can claim the bed. And it's the funniest thing. And yeah,
Aw.
now Freya is laying on top of my keyboard.
She love it.
Hopefully not messing up this recording.
Well, we'll find out.
All right, tell me all about John List. I'm
All
sure
right,
it's
so
horrible.
yeah, it's pretty bad. Trigger warning, there's some child deaths.
No.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I got my information from All That's Interesting.
Ooh.
The Sun, it's like a newspaper, and
The
ABC.
Toronto Sun?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, it's the Sun USA or something like that.
All right.
All right, buckle up. December 7th, 1971, police responded to worried phone calls from the List family's neighbors. They said they saw lights on in the home day and night, but they hadn't seen anyone enter or leave the house, nor had they seen anyone like in the windows for a month.
That's weird.
Yeah. So they called the police and they're like, hey, can you like go check on this for us? And police did. And as they entered the home, they heard organ music throughout the whole house. They had an intercom system. They kept calling this house a mansion. I just see a cattail.
Sorry.
They kept calling this house a mansion, and I think it was because it had, are you ready for this? 19 rooms, a ballroom.
Oh,
And
I
then
have heard this story. Okay.
yeah, and an intercom system throughout.
And they had like an indoor pool, right?
Oh, I didn't hear that, but I would assume.
Oh, okay.
So the police go in and they hear this organ music playing throughout the intercom system. Some sources said it was like a religious song, some sources just said organ music. And they also smelled a horrible smell. As they slowly looked through the house, they were stunned to find the bodies of the whole List family sleeping on. They were not sleeping. Sorry. The bodies of the whole List family on top of sleeping bags in the ballroom.
Oh my God.
Mom, Helen, Grandma Alma, who is 85, 16-year-old Patricia, 15-year-old John, and 13-year-old Frederick were all shot and laid out. Noticeably missing
Was
was
the dad.
dad, John. Yes. So police continued to look through the scene and they found a note on John's desk in his study addressed to a local pastor and signed by John List. The note starts off with an apology to Reverend Eugene A. Raywinkle for adding to his workload, and then goes on to explain that John killed his whole family so that their souls could go to heaven.
Oh my goodness.
So in the note, he wrote, after it was all over, I said some prayers for them, all from the hymn book. That was the least I could do. So this
Send
note,
yourself away then too. You
right? Well, he talks about that in a little bit, but this note was 5 pages long.
seriously?
Yeah. And I have some quotes from it, but obviously I don't have the whole thing. But he also claimed that God could have helped him, but apparently he saw fit to not answer my prayers. Quote. He also said, I know that many will only look at the additional years that they could have lived, but if finally they were no longer Christians, what would be gained? He wrote. He also said, also, I'm sure many will say, how could anyone do such a horrible thing? My only answer is it isn't easy, and it was only done after much thought. He said he had originally planned to kill them on All Saints' Day because it was an appropriate day to go to heaven, but he changed his mind due to, travel issues. So, no big deal.
Oh, great.
The note goes on to say that he could no longer afford his 19-room mansion they had bought. And, quote, true, we could have gone bankrupt and maybe gone on welfare. But he said he feared the effects of poverty on his children.
Okay. Could you not have sold the house?
He also worried about his wife's refusal to attend church anymore and his daughter's aspirations to become an actress.
Oh, oh my God. What a horrible field to go into that could help you with your financial struggles.
Right. And friends also said the year before her murder, Patricia, that's the daughter, so became, quote, obsessed with witchcraft, describing herself as a witch. So that really upset
There it
her
is.
uber Christian
Yeah.
father. So he, in his mind, which I don't really know if I believe this, but he said that because they weren't going down the Christian path, he had to kill them now so that they were still Christians and would go to heaven. Also, the little thing about, money problems because he had lost his job played into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. What a dumbass.
Um, so one former friend of Patricia's, her name was Rhonda, described how John had once snapped at Patricia in front, or had snapped at Rhonda in front of Patricia and said, a bitch as well as a witch. So he was not super happy. Yeah. And a former friend, Ed Siradaki, told the New Jersey true crime podcast, Father Wants Us Dead, how Patricia said her father had made wills for them in the months before his family's murders,
Oh my God.
asking his children if they would like to be cremated.
You don't ask your children that.
He said that and I have a quote down here further, but he said that they were just like sitting around one day and he was just like asking them what they would want, like if they died. And he's like, yeah, I really thought I pulled it off well.
That's grotesque.
Yeah. And another friend, Susan, said that Patricia, the daughter, had told her shortly before her death that I have a feeling within me that something bad is going to happen. Rhonda insists that Patricia knew her father wanted her and her brothers dead, and that John actually seemed happier weeks before the murder.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. In his confession note, List blames the murders entirely on his financial situation and his family's loss of faith, like we said. And he said, quote, if any one of these had been the condition, we might have pulled through, but this was just too much. At least I'm certain that all have gone to heaven now.
You know what's really like an interesting thought is that he wanted to kill them while he thought they were like in the faith, but
Hmm.
his daughter was like into witchcraft.
Right. I guess he
So,
figured that she wasn't like that far gone or whatever. I said that
man,
with quotations for those listening.
ugh, that's so obnoxious.
He also, in his letter, as like an afterthought, at the very end of this 5-page letter, wrote, P.S. Mother is in the hallway in the attic, third floor. She was too heavy to move.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that thought.
Before leaving the house, John cut his face out of all of the pictures that the family had and destroyed his passport so that police wouldn't have a picture to use to try and find him, like to post, for people to look for him. Because this was in the 70s, so there wasn't like social media or anything.
I was really hoping it
That
was
I was
that
going to
you were
stop
gonna
it, cut his face.
yeah.
Yeah.
He slashed his face up so he could like pin it as a
Yeah.
like home invasion or
No.
something.
He then left, parked his car at the Kennedy International Airport, and disappeared for 18 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
How do you
But
just disappear for 18 years?
so again, this was in the 70s, right?
70s,
So
yeah.
there was no social media. I guess he cut all ties, he changed his name, and we'll get into a little bit what he was doing, but they didn't have any pictures of him. So it was hard for them to figure it out.
Sorry.
Did your cat get you?
Totally. Oh my god.
All right, so this next part, trigger warning because we're going to talk about exactly what the last day was like.
No, I
I know.
refuse.
I know. It's not great.
Please don't make me do this.
Okay, story
Also,
over.
can we like do like a little intermission for a second?
Mhm.
I do we notice that my rural internet is functioning?
I do see that.
Yeah, I moved our wireless pod into our bedroom, which is like right behind me in the closet. So,
Nice. Good job. Good
yeah,
thinking.
I know. I was like, well, I'll just move it closer to me and hope for the
Yeah.
best.
So police were able to piece together the last day of the List family. So prior to that, John got some guns and did target practice. Um,
Come on.
yeah. Again, like I said, one night after dinner, he asked his family what should be done with their bodies after they died. He said, quote, I remember talking about funerals and cremation and burials. I thought I was being real clever.
Such a dick.
So that morning, the kids woke up and went to school as usual. Helen was drinking a morning cup of coffee as she always did when John came in and shot her in the back of the head. So
Can I
thankfully, she never even knew what was coming.
can I just say, like, he's doing all of this to get his family into heaven,
Mm-hmm.
but like he's not gonna go to heaven if he murders his whole family. I don't understand.
He talks about that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
It's not a great reasoning, but it's his.
Oh.
Um, he said he then went up to the third floor where his mother was having breakfast. He kissed her like on the forehead. He liked to point out he kissed her like Judas. So when Judas
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and then he shot her. He then cleaned up so that when the kids came home, they wouldn't notice right away. And the first kid to come home was Patricia, and then he shot Patricia, and then he shot his youngest son Frederick when he came home. He then made himself a sandwich because, quote, I was hungry. That's just the way it is, adding with a chuckle.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
He then closed out his bank accounts and cheered for his son John, who was having a high school soccer game. So at this point, John, the son, John Jr., his whole family is dead and he has no idea. He's just playing in his soccer game. He then gave John a ride home
Oh.
and shot him in the chest. He then unloaded his gun in John and said, he said, quote, I don't know whether it was only because he was still jerking that I wanted to make sure he didn't suffer,
Oh my God.
or that it was a sort of way of relieving tension after completing what I had felt was my assignment for the day.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's disgusting.
Yeah. He also suspended all deliveries that the family may have had and left a note with the children's school that they were going out of town, which is why no one thought to look for the family for over a month.
Literally.
He said he felt like he was letting the family down. Quote, I grew up with the idea that you should provide for your family and to do that you had to be a success in the job that you had or you're a failure, and that was not a good thing to be. It's just like D-Day. You go in, there's no stopping after you start. So basically that last line, that quote was kind of jumping around, but that last line was about like, how could you continue to kill your family? And that's what he said. It's like D-Day. You just go in, there's no stopping after you start. And then the other quote, I grew up with the idea that you should provide for your family, is basically him just saying like, oh, I was a failure and I didn't want my family to know, so I had to kill him. So 18 years later, they had lost track of him completely. Prosecutors had an idea, and they created a bust of what they thought an aged John would look like and released it to the public during an episode of America's Most Wanted.
But I thought they didn't know what he looked like.
I think they somehow got like a picture of him from somewhere, you know. They didn't say where, but I'm sure like maybe a family member, that was still alive, or like maybe a neighbor had a picture or something.
Yeah.
And this was really interesting. It said psychologists theorized that John would wear the same spectacles he wore as a younger man to remind him of more successful days. And he was wearing the same glasses.
Ew.
Yeah.
I don't know why I find that so
I
gross.
know. But yeah, so they put this on America's Most Wanted, the show, and apparently tips came flying in. And one lady said that her neighbor, Robert Clark, resembled the person that was on America's Most Wanted.
What?
So police went to Clark's house and it was him. So this just came like 18 years later. Some lady was like, hey, that kind of looks like my neighbor. And it was.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, so freaking cool.
Yeah. So he had apparently changed his name to Robert Clark, assumed this new identity, and had moved to Denver, Colorado. So he was coming from New Jersey to
So
Denver,
how far is
Colorado.
that?
That's across the country.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So I mean, new name, cross country, no one knows you. He was able to get away from it. He even remarried and had
Ew.
I don't
No,
no, yeah, he
no,
remarried.
no. Don't tell me he had
He didn't.
children.
He didn't. I
Oh,
was thinking of my
thank
last story when
God.
I said he had two sons, but no, he didn't. He didn't have kids, but he did remarry.
Thank God.
And they moved back to Richmond, Virginia, which is where his neighbor had spotted him. So John was arrested 9 days after this episode of America's Most Wanted aired.
Wow.
9 days. So he disappeared for 18 years, and they aired this episode, and 9 days later, they had an arrest.
Wow.
His
That's incredible.
Yeah. His defense argued that he had PTSD from World War II in Korea, which, I mean, going through that, I don't doubt he did, but I don't think that that's why.
Well, and how, like, I'm sorry if I'm ignorant. I don't know when those wars were to know, like, how old was he during
Well,
those wars and how long had he been out before this kind of happened?
yeah. So I know World War II was in the 40s.
Yeah, well, I know that, yeah.
Yeah. And the Korean War was in the 50s. And then this
So
happened in the
did he
70s.
fight in both of them?
I guess so, yeah.
So he was like he was older. He was in his 60s probably, like
Probably,
50s,
yeah.
60s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But uh prosecution said, or an expert psychologist said, no, he didn't have PTSD. He was just having a midlife crisis.
Oh
because he lost his job. And apparently he had lost several jobs. Yeah. But thankfully, the jury didn't buy the defense's case, and he was found guilty and sentenced to 5 life terms in prison.
No, I just need to turn my video back on. She's fighting me now.
She said mine.
Off of me.
He said, quote, I wish to inform the court that I remain truly sorry for the tragedy that happened in 1971. I feel that due to my mental state at the time, I was unaccountable for what happened. I ask all those who are affected by this for their forgiveness, your understanding, and your prayers. Thank you. And when a reporter had asked him, like, why didn't you kill yourself with your family? He said that he didn't kill himself after killing his own family because he felt that would prevent him from getting into heaven. So killing himself would prevent him from getting in heaven, but not killing his whole family, because he said, all I want to do is reunite with my wife, mother, and children in the afterlife where there's no pain or suffering. And I believe that he basically believed that if he killed his whole family, he had enough time to be forgiven by God. But if he committed suicide, he didn't have enough time to be forgiven, so he would go to hell.
Thou shalt not sin. Do not murder.
Do not kill.
Like, literally.
Yeah. In March of 2008, he died of pneumonia in prison at the age of 82.
Good. Serves him right.
Yeah. And that is the story of the John List murders.
I hated those.
That was awful. Yeah.
It was awful. Like, how do you just decide to take somebody else's life into your hands?
Well, and what I don't get is how you can kill your own kids.
And your mom.
And your mom.
Like, your wife that you swore to, like, love and cherish.
I know. But the kid thing is what gets me, man. Like, I cannot imagine losing my child, let alone taking it into my own hands and doing it. I
literally work a 12-hour shift one Saturday a month, and I cry talking to her on the way home.
Yeah.
Because I missed her so much.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know how anybody could take their kids' lives.
And the part that, like, really got me was how he just unloaded on his son.
Yes.
Like, one shot wasn't enough. You just had to unload everything.
Yeah. And he said because he felt he completed the assignment for the day. Oh my God. How cold are you?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Is your murder story any better?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, great.
Thankfully it's shorter, so
okay, we don't have to suffer as long.
No, and I'm gonna be reading off my phone because my cat is blocking absolutely everything. So.
Perfect.
Pardon me while I look at my cell phone. So it is the unsolved Hinterkaifeck murders. That is how I am pronouncing it. That is where we're going today. So forgive me. Farmer. Oh, cheapers. Never mind. I used all that's interesting and ranker.com.
Oh, okay.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Cool. Farmer Andreas Gruber noticed something peculiar on his Hinterkaifeck property a week or so before March 31st, 1922. He discovered footsteps outside of the house, but they were all pointing in the direction of the house.
Oh.
And they were coming from the woods behind the home.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Isn't that creepy?
Yes.
I hate that.
Oh.
The farm was super isolated. Oh, fuck off, Freya. Seriously.
Yeah, but
the farm was very isolated and was thought to be a safe location, so he never reported this strange event to the police. They were 43 miles north of Munich, so why would you worry?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Failure to report these strange footsteps cost them their lives.
Oh no.
Although I'm not really certain reporting them would have landed a different outcome, though.
Yeah, because like what can the police really do about it?
Literally, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So I feel like this outcome would have happened either way.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
On March 31st, 6 members of the Gruber family were led to their deaths by an unidentified person or persons. Can you
Ugh.
stop?
I don't like how you said led to their deaths. Like,
I know.
ugh.
I know. It doesn't get better.
Oh, great.
On April 4th, so remember this was March 31st, they all died.
Okay.
And now, April 4th, nearly a week later, neighbors and a few town residents visited to see how the Hinterkaifeck farm was doing. The mailman had observed the mail starting to build up in the post box, and young Kazelia had missed 2 consecutive days of school. The front door was locked, so they made their way to the barn where they found the bodies.
Mm.
Andreas was lured to the barn and killed there with a pickaxe, together with his wife Kazelia, their adult daughter Victoria, and their granddaughter Kazelia.
Pickaxe.
A board and some hay covered their bodies.
Mm.
Lady, you're in my way.
She doesn't mind. I see cat ear and cat whiskers.
Sorry. She's adding some joy to this.
She is.
She's grooming herself right now.
I could tell because the camera's moving ever so slightly.
Sorry, everybody. I don't want to get hurt by moving her. Maria, the family's housekeeper, and Joseph, their infant grandson, were killed inside of the home in their bedrooms.
Oh, poor baby.
I know. They alerted the police right away and they started looking for the murderer. Police uncovered the murders at the Hinterkaifeck farm on April 4th, but they later discovered that the family had passed away on March 31st in the evening, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
And they determined this, which I thought was really cool because I'm like, well, how the heck did they know? Like, forensics were really around back in the
Right.
20s. So, Maria Baumgartner's her sister later went to see her at the farm that afternoon, so March 31st. She was able to check that everybody was still alive. This had also been Maria Baumgartner's first day working as the family's maid.
Oh,
I know.
poor thing.
2 coffee salesmen stopped by the farm the following day, but nobody answered the door. Smoke was flowing from the chimney, and it appeared that someone had fed the family's livestock. On April 4th, a repairman also showed up at the residence, but was unable to locate anyone. And they didn't, this is unsolved. Nobody has been found. More than 100 suspects were questioned by Munich police throughout the years, including as recently as 1986. These senseless murders have yet to be solved. It also doesn't, isn't that awful?
So, like, someone was clearly stalking them and then murdered the whole family, some with a pickaxe, and they never, oh, that person lived a whole life. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. It also doesn't help that dozens of people had trampled through the crime scene before the authorities got there.
of course, that's how they did it back then.
Yeah. Despite the gory scene, there is a small solace. Solace?
Solace.
Sure. The majority of the victims initially looked to have passed almost instantaneously from their wounds.
Oh, God.
This part's really terrible.
Uh-oh.
But a subsequent examination would show that young Kazelia had survived for hours afterward and most likely passed away from shock because she was trapped beneath her family's bodies.
Oh my God. And she was the granddaughter.
Mhm.
Oh.
She was discovered to be missing clumps of hair, which the authorities think she removed herself.
Oh God.
Police interviews and investigations led to clues and other possibilities, even though they were never able to identify anybody. Neighbors recall Andreas complained to them of hearing footsteps in the attic a few days prior to the killings, around the time he had spotted the footprints, as well as missing keys to the tool shed where the murder weapon had been kept. In addition, he claimed to have discovered a newspaper in his house that he didn't buy.
Oh.
His neighbors offered to give him a gun, but he refused, believing nothing wrong would happen.
Someone was in your house.
Yep.
Oh, that gave me
The,
chills.
the investigation also turned up information about the previous maid who had departed 6 months before the killings because she had been hearing voices and thought the property was haunted.
6 months.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. So they were probably the murderer, whoever it was probably like living on that farm somewhere
Like in the attic, yeah.
and like watching them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got chills. Oh.
Later, police came to the conclusion that the voices, newspaper, and footprints could only indicate that the murderer had lived in the Gruber's house for more than 6 months prior to their death.
Oh my God. Jessica, this is the worst story you've ever done. I
Don't
hate
think
this
it
so
is.
much. I'm clutching my arms and my legs are shaking.
Oh, no.
not like involuntary shit. Like I'm shaking them. Like it's
Yeah. Sorry.
it's awful.
Multiple suspects are interviewed, some more promising than others, but in the end, nobody was charged. Some evidence that popped up was that Victoria and Andreas were charged with incest 7 years before the Hinterkaifeck farm's occupants were killed, which was called in anonymously. The father and daughter were both tried, and they were both subsequently found guilty.
Ew.
According to varying accounts, Victoria spent 1 month or 1 year in prison, while Andreas did the same.
Oh.
Some of the Gruber's neighbors thought Joseph, Victoria's 2-year-old son, was the result of their incestuous relationship,
Jessica.
despite
Oh.
the fact that many people thought Lawrence Schlittenbauer, the man who began the search on the farm on April 4th, was the father of Joseph. Sorry, I love you.
Jessica. I simultaneously hate and love this story. The incest I could do without. I mean, all of it I could do without, but
All of it would be nice to do without.
yes.
One of the suspects was obviously Lorenz due to this theory, but the police found no evidence to support this. And why would he kill the children, especially if like he called Joseph his boy. So like it seemed like he even believed that
That it
he
was
was
his.
his son. Yes. So like
Mm.
why would he kill the children? If his beef was with the dad, you know? Like it just
Yeah. I mean, unless he went on like a rage. But I feel
yeah.
like being that he had a relationship with the family, they would have noticed had he been missing and living in someone's attic for six
Exactly.
months. Yeah.
Exactly, right? The Gruber's bodies were sent for autopsies when the investigation was finished. Their he- I forgot about this part. Their heads were taken off and given to Munich clairvoyants to look for metaphysical hints.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, they were unable to determine anything, and to add fuel to the fire that was this whole ordeal, the Gruber's heads were lost during the turmoil of World War II. Hey, our stories kind of lined up there. Freya, am I still on?
Yes, I just saw a paw.
She's licking her vagina.
Freya, that is personal business.
Lady. Oh my god, she's so happy. um the victims of the Hinterkaifeck murders were ultimately buried in a nearby town cemetery, decapitated.
Oh my god. What did they ever? I'm sure they didn't, but did they ever explain what their thought process was on taking just the heads?
Probably because of the eyes and the mouth. They thought that
Oh,
they could like see through their eyes, um, and then they could speak out of their mouth. I don't know.
and they couldn't just like have them come in
I
and
don't.
look at it. They like had to take the heads.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
That's
It could have
horrid.
been that they were already like mostly decapitated, anyways.
Yeah.
If you think
Yeah.
about it, there it was
I
a
still don't like
pickaxe.
it though.
I don't like it either. Um, the farmstead was eventually demolished once all the evidence had been removed. Any recent inquiries have been kept a secret out of respect for the still living descendants, even though suspicions about who their murderer was still circulate. In the eyes of the general public, though, these killings are still unsolved.
Jessica, that story had baby murders,
Yep.
incest,
Yep.
stalking,
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing.
decapitation.
It's
It's
terrible.
awful.
It was absolutely awful. Yes.
Thank you for that. I had
You're
never heard of
better.
that before. That was a really interesting story.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Oh my
No.
god, I have to take a picture of this cat right now. Ashley, cheese. Oh wait, I clicked the thing too soon. Okay, cheese.
I made a ridiculous face.
You look beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Um, yeah, that was truly awful.
That was. Now, you said that you had some Last of Us jokes.
I do. I'm hoping they're actually from the game, but um in um in spirit or in Last of Us just aired with Pedro Pascal. Ashley asked me why I was watching it because zombies terrify the crap out of me because the way that they literally explained it in the beginning of the show seems like it could legitimately happen.
Yeah, it really,
It's
really does.
absolutely terrifying to me. Zombies scare the shit out of me. I couldn't even get through The Walking Dead. I had such bad anxiety in the first season. Like, and she asked me why the hell I was watching it. And I said, Pedro Pascal. I sent her a gif of Pedro Pascal.
He's a sexy, sexy man.
He's so, and it's like weird because he's not even like,
Super nice looking.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's just, I
agree.
love his personality.
Yeah,
I just,
yeah.
oh.
I love zombie things. I do. Jessica and I had a whole conversation, and I said that I think I could survive in the zombie apocalypse, and she laughed at me.
And then I made a post about her on our Instagram.
I would. So here's the thing.
For those of you that don't watch our YouTube videos, Ashley wears glasses.
I do wear glasses, yes. And so that's the Instagram thing because it said like if you lost your glasses, you'd be screwed, and I really would. But so if you look at like the Walking Dead zombies, I feel like I could survive that because they're slow and they're decomposing. I couldn't survive. I would get killed by a person though because I'm too trusting and naive. But the Last of Us zombies, they're super fucking fast. And I
Yeah,
would not survive that because
they're
I am
terrifying.
way out of shape.
They're so scary.
They're really fast.
Ugh.
And
Gross.
it is
Okay.
terrifying and I love it.
Anyways, yes, I do have
Okay.
some Last of Us jokes. Okay.
Okay.
Let's get ready. Ashley,
Jessica.
a moon rock tastes better than an earthly rock because it's meteor. What is the leading cause of divorce in long-term marriages?
What is that?
A stalemate.
But I don't get how these are related to The Last of Us.
They're from the game.
Oh, they're jokes from the game?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were like jokes about the game.
No, they're from the game.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. What did the mermaid wear to her math class?
C cups.
An algebra.
Oh.
It's hilarious.
Cute.
Sorry, I'm watching this video. Nom, 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 nom. Nom, 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 nom. Nom, nom. A backwards poet writes in verse. uh, 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 sorry. These are just a book just fell on my head. Wait. A book just fell on my head. I only have my shelf to blame.
I like that one. Oh,
Anyways,
I
those are my
loved it.
jokes.
I loved it. Well, if you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us on History's. Nope.
Whoa.
We don't have that anymore. If you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And if you would like to rate and review us, you can do so on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And our Instagram has our link tree, which links you to our Facebook and our YouTube and our Buzzsprout website.
Ooh, we're
Yes,
fancy.
yes. So now we're with Buzzsprout. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week.
Bye.
Bye.